Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for Contemporary Ceramic Studios. We're your host, Jessica Cowan.
And Amy Williams. You're invited to join us in creative conversation about life in the arts as entertainment space.
Hey, Amy, how's it going?
Hey, Jess, how are you?
I'm doing so great. I had my staff team building thing for opening day at the baseball park this previous week.
Yes,
that was
how'd
super
that go?
fun. It was amazing. I mean, everybody brought their friends and family, and my dad was there. We got to just have a good time and hang out. Then I went to the Renaissance Festival right outside of Atlanta for opening weekend there. So it was a week of opening week days for me.
That is a lot of moving and grooving. And meanwhile,
Yeah,
this weekend, I didn't step outside once. I realized
I
yesterday
support
when I
that.
got in my car to go to work, I was like, oh, I didn't leave the house. I was working in the house, but I did not
Yeah.
literally step outside. So that was like a bit of a wake-up call. I'm trying to be better about that.
Sure.
Can
It's
I
like those
ask?
days whenever. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was one of those weekends for sure.
Yeah.
For this staff team building at the baseball park, what did you pay
Mhm.
for?
Oh, we got there's like a suite that's at the third base level kind of deal. So we get the suite. It's got like 50 seats in it, a little bartender, and then a food, little buffet of all your regular ballpark foods. So it's a good time. We all had space to move around. We could bring
Mhm.
kids, all of that good stuff. So I definitely would recommend it. On top of that, the baseball stadium actually does a little blurb for the people who've rented the suites. And
Oh,
so
cool.
it's a pretty good marketing opportunity too. And you've got full house opening day, and they're going to say your name over the intercom, not to push anybody into baseball team building.
Yeah. When you say sweet, to me that reads really expensive. So is it expensive?
And it was less than $1,000,
That's not
which I
bad.
thought was pretty good for that's a quarterly family day that we
Yeah.
do. And again, I'm looking at it as a marketing opportunity as well
Mhm.
because they we did get a pretty good 30-second blurb out of all of that, and plus the signage of people coming to talk to us. So overall, I mean, it's worth it from both the business perspective, but also I'd do it again just for a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to keep your staff happy and to be
Yeah.
on, the same level of meeting needs and showing up and also being like friends. I think we kind of forget that in this
Right.
space. And today's episode with Julie and Robin Cates was a great reminder that staff culture is very important and taking care of your staff so that they can take care of you is, um, I don't know, one of the more important parts of running a business.
Yeah,
What
for sure.
did
I mean, your staff are going to be your number one investment that you're making. I mean, behind your what rent and bisque, it's going to be your staff. So go
thousand?
ahead and start investing in them.
Yeah. What's something that you learned from them today that like you maybe won't stop thinking about?
Ooh, I really liked their fun interview questions. I feel like my interviews have gotten a little more down to the nitty-gritty, and I've been interviewing the past couple of weeks. I've got a 2.5 year omployee. Today is her last day. We have a little party for her. That's exciting. But while I've been interviewing, I've been having those thoughts of like, this interview is effective, but maybe it's not super fun. So it was good to hear about their interview style and the way that they bring other people in and how they make sure that they've got good fits for their team.
Yeah, same for me. The way they interview and the way they run their staff meetings, I'm going to be thinking about a lot
Hmm.
as I enter this season of trying to find a new staff member. So, yeah, I think this is one of those episodes that we'll return to often. I think every time you
Hmm.
listen to it, you'll maybe take a little nugget of information out. So I'm looking forward to everybody hearing.
Yeah, me too. And Robin and Julie are just such warm-hearted people, so we appreciate them taking the time to sit down with us and tell us about how much of the impact they're having in their community with these young people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they've really got it figured out. So, all right,
Yeah.
everybody, enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hi, CCSA members. Des Toll from Biscuit Imports here to welcome you to this month's informative podcast. Sit back or get ready to multitask, pop in those headphones, and enjoy the show.
Yeehaw, studio owners. Saddle up for success at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, happening September 5th through the 8th in Denton, Texas. This year, we're bringing cowboy country theme to the heart of the fine arts, and you won't want to miss it. Get ready for an action-packed event featuring over 35 industry classes designed to boost your business business, an exhibit hall filled with the latest and greatest from top suppliers, plus social events where you can connect with fellow studio owners. And don't forget the grand finale, a boot scooting gala and silent auction that'll have you dancing the night away. So dust off your cowboy boots and join us for a weekend of learning, networking, and good old Texas-sized fun. This is an exclusive event you can't afford to miss. Head to ccsaonline.com to reserve your spot at the 2025 CCSA Annual Convention, and we'll see y'all in Denton.
Julie, do you have any mural stuff coming up?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I'm doing another trash corral mural, like the one I did last year. This one will be sea creatures.
Cool.
So my assistant is chomping at the bit to get started, but he needs to finish fourth grade first, and so we will start it after the River Festival. But yeah, so I think that's gonna be fun.
And when does that happen again? The festival?
June
10th, 11th, 12th,
yeah, 10, 11.
something like that.
Right around the corner.
I know.
Don't say it. I'm not ready.
No.
I have nothing done.
Oh, I want
I
to
don't
come
know.
back
The
and see.
pressure makes it better for me, personally. All my best work
Yeah.
happens
Amy,
under
I'm gonna
pressure,
need you to
so.
come.
Well, I'll have just gotten back from the UK, but I'll be there. If hey,
Perfect.
we'll talk.
Get
We'll
here.
talk off screen because
That'll be great.
I just want to come and spend some money too.
You're totally right, though. Pressure does make it better. That's not
It
a lie.
does.
The older I get, though, the less I'm able to hang that way. Like,
Really?
oh yeah. I
There
don't know.
just hasn't been a choice lately. Like I got myself into some pro bono work for because I'm trying to save the world, and this delightful
And we love that.
17-year-old that is the president of the Saline County Young Democrats asked me to do some stuff, and I'm like, anything you want. And so oh my God, it's like I've adopted a child, and I adore him. He called me last night with to vent, and that was an hour and 45 minutes. So but I freaking love him. You guys, when I tell you this little boy is gonna save the world, like I have no worries about the future of our world because of him. This little alpaca haired boy.
Oh my God, he's so cute.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my God,
he's
that's so funny.
brilliant, and he like understands the scope of feelings beyond mad and happy.
And he's 17 and can't vote yet, but is the president of Young Democrats.
He like wrote a constitution, set up a bank account, raised a bunch of money.
That's
Just
crazy.
in his spare time between track and his English test.
Ugh, cutie. I wish I had that energy.
Me
Yeah,
too.
Spirited 17-year-old.
Someone can bottle that up and sell it.
Right?
Oh,
Millionaire.
that would be so good. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, good. I'm sorry for your hour and a half or hour and 45-minute long vent sesh.
Oh no, it was fine. He was hilarious. I laughed hard. So
Good. Well, I'll call you next time that I need
Okay.
to let it rip.
you just holler at me, girl. I'm here for you.
Well, ladies, we've got you on the podcast today to talk employee culture.
Yeah.
I
let's
have
talk about it.
had many, many conversations with you specifically, Robin, about hiring and staff, and I leave every one of those conversations very, or I guess I should say less intimidated to have a staff. And so I'm excited to chat with y'all today. But, for the 3.5 people who don't know you, would you take a second to introduce yourselves and,
Sure.
get the voices straight so we know who's talking when?
Absolutely. My name is Robin Cates. We own On the Pot in Salina, Kansas. We celebrate our 23rd birthday on June the 15th. And I'm the business one. So I handle the employees, I handle the ordering, that stuff. Then there's this one.
I'm Julie Cates, and I am the creative side of the business, and antagonist, problem creator. I'm pretty proficient at all of those things.
She's real good at it.
Yeah.
I'm the assistant with the staff, meaning I tell her things and she tells them things.
But she does cook all the meals for dinner,
I do
so
do that.
it's allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like little sister energy, Julie, but you're not little sister, right?
I'm not little sister, but I'm fine with that role.
Yeah. Same.
That works for me.
Yeah,
I think
like
I
it.
think we just got confused
Yeah.
in the gene pool, and
I think I just accidentally
happens.
came out 2 years too late.
Yeah.
You're actually supposed to be twins. That was
mom
it.
and dad
Yeah.
meant to have you first.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's all right.
Yeah, it
She
works.
did boss me around pretty hard for the first 12 years of my life. So I think it's just getting back at
She
her.
just broke me in my 30s, so
Yeah.
I just knuckled under. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
That's funny.
Well, I think I'd like to hear your take on like what it's a big start to the podcast, but what makes a good employee culture, you know,
That's
right?
a hard question, but yeah, okay. So I think what makes good employee culture is that everyone in the team, the leader and all of the staff feel good more days than they don't feel good. That's about how do we care for each other? How do we know each other? How do we step up for each other? And that is a two-way street in all directions, you know? And I think that sometimes we get really caught up in being the boss instead of being caught up in making sure that everybody wins.
Yeah, and getting the buy-in
Yes.
with the staff. We just had a staff meeting last night, so it's very fresh.
Mhm.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Oh,
yeah,
What do
yeah.
you mean by that? What do you mean by the buy-in?
Well, we need them to understand who we are, and by them knowing who we are and what our intentions are, they can rise to kind of help further those intentions and meet those expectations. And we're pretty vulnerable with our staff. um
Yeah.
we tell them, like, there is nobody else bringing a paycheck into our household. Like, this is it. And so it's not a game. This is not a hobby. This is Julie and Robin don't want to live in a box under a bridge. And so we're gonna need you all and to come and be a part of that and help further that and to create the feeling in the studio that we want to create when we're here. And I think they do a really good job of that. Like, I'm always surprised.
And I think part of that too is like we talk a lot in the training time about we want every customer who walks in the door, whether they're taken care of by me or you, to have the same kind of experience. Now, that doesn't mean the same experience because you're not me and I'm not you, but
Yep.
the same kind of experience, the same care, the same love, the same acceptance, all of those pieces. And so, if we're not giving them that, they're not going to give it to somebody else.
Yeah. I think that's very well put from both of you and talking about the buy-in and being vulnerable. And it reminds me of just of the phrase, clarity is kindness. Like people can't meet you where you are if you're not upfront with what you're looking for and your expectations. So I'm curious how many you have on staff right now.
So we have 8 currently.
Wow.
Yeah, and one is an adult.
That sounds like we're open like 100 hours a week.
We'll explain more about that in a minute. But we have 8 on staff. One of them is a 38-year-old human who works most of our day shifts, and then the rest are high school students who fill in. Oh no, that's not true. We also now have one college student because she used to be a high school student with us, and she is the very first employee who worked all the way through high school and decided to stay in Salina for college. And
Oh,
it is the
wow.
best day of our whole
We're thinking of
lives.
essablishing some sort of honorary scholarship for her because it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she split some of our day shifts with Shane, and then we have 6 high school students that work for us Fridays and Saturdays. So yeah.
Nice. What would you say you owe to that retention rate of this person staying all through high school and college? Like what's keeping all of these people around, do you think?
Um, gosh, well, it feels like tooting my own horn, but
Please,
the
toot.
thing, thank you. The thing I feel like is that we try really hard to hire the right people,
Mm.
and people who are going to fit the vibe of who we are. And when that happens and it works, they tend to stay as long as they can. So we hire kids starting at 15 and a half, which is ridiculous. And we give them a key to our store when they're 15 and a half. which is also ridiculous, but it works, and it teaches responsibility. And when we find a fit, they tend to stay until they graduate from high school, and then they come back to us in the summers, at least for a year or two often. But I think it, I mean, they become a member of our family, as dysfunctional as it is. They literally do, and I think that's why.
And I also
Yeah.
think we work really hard to respect like the things that are important to them. We hire as many staff as we do because we don't want them to miss out on other things that are important to them. You know, I think we talked a little bit about in preparing, we don't ask for this to be their first, second, or third priority, but we need it to be in the top 5. And they've done they've done just an incredible job of that. But we do try to work around the things that are important to them, and they help us when we need to be away. Honestly, from taking care of the studio to going upstairs and feeding the cats, you know, we do really try hard to take care of each other.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think we forget about that in the employee boss relationship where it feels like you should be doing this for me and not necessarily what can I also do for you.
Well, and I think, oh, I'm sorry, to interrupt
No,
you.
please go ahead.
I think that feels taboo in the world of HR currently. I think it feels taboo to be known, you know, in that way. And I think that's the joy of small business, is it doesn't have to be that way.
We
Agreed.
go to a lot of kind of okay plays
Yeah.
and some pretty good basketball.
I
And
bet. Yeah.
Very long dance recitals.
some
Oh,
couple track
Lord.
meets here and there. We don't do a lot of that. That's an outdoor thing when it's hot. And so
Yeah, it's investment,
Um,
right? They're investing in you, so you're doing it sort of like back.
yeah.
Yeah.
My question is kind of ties into we're teaching them responsibility. We're a small business, which we love. I'm the same way. I've always been the same way. Grew up in small business, work for Teresa. I love small business. That's my jam. Do you do any of this as a way to be impactful to your community? Like, is that also part of why you're hiring young people? And can you talk about that and why it's important a little bit?
Heck yeah. I say all the time to anyone who listen that I am training the next generation of really great staff for corporate business. My job is to teach people who've never had a job before how to have a job and how to be a good employee. And I think I've been successful at that for the last 23 years. In fact, I write a lot of recommendations for these children who are growing into adults. And currently in Salina, Kansas, we have a doctor, a dentist, and an attorney who used to work for us. And I think that says enough about who they are as people, you know, and who they've grown into. I think that's a piece. The other piece is being out in the community with these students and being a part of their lives. It's when we run into the people who are like, "Oh, I forgot to pick up my pottery," and
Yeah,
"Oh my gosh, we
right.
have fun night coming up. Can you guys help out?" You know, it's a connection to the community that's just different. It's how we honestly, we find new customers because of the people that those kids touch, you know, out in the world. So
Yeah, of course.
And we try really hard. We're pretty involved with our downtown organization and with community organizations, and they get to see that, and they get to have small parts of that too, and understand how we're all connected. And even little things like people coming in and asking for donations. We give a gift certificate to any not-for-profit that asks us. And they get to be a part of that too, and seeing how small business plays into the success of other organizations in the community.
and they know that they don't have to ask us, they can just say yes. And so they get to be the ones who are the face to that entity to say, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to support you. And that's super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. And, it goes back to what everyone's saying about this responsibility at such a young age. It's I don't think many people are doing that. I know a lot of people don't hire that young in the industry. And so I don't know, it would be me as a 15-year-old would have really thrived under that. And it could have, changed a direction of my life. So that's very cool.
We giggle because we've traditionally had the studio available if any of the kids want to have their graduation parties here when they're seniors. And they haven't done it for a while because now it's all different now because we're old. But I always used to laugh because their parents, they were super strict with their parents about, okay, you guys, like, these are the things we need to do when this party is over to make sure that the studio is ready to go. And their parents were like, how do you get them to do this?
Right.
I joke that when I teach them how to mop the floor, I'm going to send home a note that says, hello, today I taught MJ how to mop the floor. Please reinforce this behavior at home, you know? But I think the thing about kids is that they live up to the standard you expect of them. And so when we set the bar and we tell them what we expect, I think that's the most important part of it. These kids don't infer and understand intrinsically what you want. You have to tell them. And so when we tell them what we expect and we're very clear with our expectations, they want to meet that expectation. And I find myself, I've had to learn new words with each new generation. The current words are, I'm telling you this, not because I'm upset about it, but because I want you to understand what my expectation is. And when I say that, they keep their ears on.
Right.
And they're like, oh, Robin has an expectation. What is the expectation? Before I could be snarky and be like, you guys, I swear,
Yeah, honestly.
and that doesn't work in the same way with our current group. So yeah, we learn.
Wow. Very interesting. And not a lot of people are open to change, Robin. So that's very cool to hear.
It takes me a minute.
We just don't want to work Saturdays.
Yeah.
We'll do anything.
I completely understand. So I feel like a lot of this culture and staff expectations starts with hiring, right? So can you talk us a little bit through your hiring process, how you go about it, what you look for, what you ask them, just kind of give us a
Also,
deep
how
dive.
you advertise your jobs, that's I think a big one.
We don't advertise.
Yeah.
We advertise for
Like for daytime,
for
our dates,
grown-ups.
for like grown-ups.
But we do not advertise for teenagers. Thank you for asking that. So here's how it works. When we decide as a group that it is time to hire new people, that often starts with, it's getting hard to fill the schedule. We'll talk about scheduling. I start with, hey friends, we've had a real hard time filling the schedule for X month. Do you think it's time to hire one more person?
Remembering that person is not going to go away in the summer when you want hours.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you ready? And often the answer is yes, we need to. It's time. Or when it gets to the point, like right now, we have a senior who's going to graduate in May. And so we start talking now. Okay, we have a senior who's graduating in May. They're going to leave us in August. Is it time to hire a new person? I ask them that question because they're the ones filling the shifts. And I want to know how much time do they have to give this job? And so when we decide it's time, I say, okay, who do we know that would be great? Because I'm 48 years old and it's creepy when I show up at the high school to recruit. It's like pulling up with a white van and candy, Yeah, exactly. But they know those students. And so when we say that, I say, who do we know? And I remind them of certain things. The first one being, we don't want to hire our best friend. We want to hire the person that we want to work with on a very busy Christmas Saturday. And I say, who are we missing currently on our staff? Like, we have some very outgoing people. We have some people who are very into the cleaning and processing. We have some people, so we kind of talk about everyone's gifts. And what gift are we missing? Also, okay, we have 3 people who are in drama at Central High School. So every time a play happens, we lose all 3. So do we need a kid from the other school? Do we need a kid who's into a different activity? So we kind of talk through, who are we looking for in the general?
We also try to keep them we really like to hire that summer between sophomore and junior year because
Mhm.
it takes so much time to train and get someone to be autonomous, especially when they're only working
A few
a
hours a
few
week.
hours a week. So we really like to get them young and keep them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we do all of that. And then I hand everyone blank applications on my staff. And I say, go find somebody to hand this to that you
And
think
put
fits the
your
bill.
name at the top of the
Top.
application so we know who it came from.
Yes. And we wait for returns. And that usually takes 2 weeks. Usually takes about 2 weeks.
Wow.
We don't start interviewing until we have at least 2 applications. The last round we had 9. And we interviewed all 9 people. And we picked 2 out of the 9. And when we interview, it's me and at least 2 members of our current staff. I really, really, really like to have their ears and eyes involved in that interview because I want to see a lot of things. One, I want to see how they all interact together in the interview. My teenagers ask questions in the interview. We have a list of questions that we ask and we split them up. I like to see whether or not that person who's being interviewed responds to me when someone else asks the question or if they respond to them. I think that's really helpful. But often, when even an interview that I feel like went pretty well, one of my staff will say, "Did you notice that they said this?" Or "Did you notice how they didn't react when we talked about this?" And their insight is as important to me as my own. And I tell everyone at the end of the interview, who's being interviewed, that we're going to talk about you when you leave, because I want their feedback and I want to hear what they have to say about the person. We always, the people who sit in the interview with me, we always make sure it's not the person who recommended them, because I think it's helpful to have someone else kind of take the reins in that moment. But we ask silly questions because I'm not hiring someone who is going to paint the pottery in our studio. That's Julie. We already have her. I'm hiring someone who knows how to talk to people. I'm hiring someone who understands how to manage their time. I'm hiring someone who has a personality that's going to click with the rest of our staff. Because I can train them how to mop the floor and I can train them how to teach someone how to, blow bubbles on pottery. But what I can't train them is how to be an authentic person. So we ask questions like, if you could have one superpower, what superpower would you want to have?
And our staff is very judgy about those answers.
I bet. Well, now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to ask both of you, what superpower would you have?
I would like Harry Potter's invisibility cloak because while I like people, I want more than anything to be able to go to the grocery store, get what I want, and leave without having to talk to anyone.
Yep.
Mine is not as altruistic. I want to be able to hurt people with my mind. Just to not
Ah,
not like, disabling.
a little
Like
bit.
I just want to be able, like if somebody says something
Punisher.
really dumb, I
Like
can
a
be
pinch?
I can and they're like, "Oh." Because I
Yeah.
feel like I could train some things out of people.
That's not bad.
Tell them your
Yeah.
second one.
Oh, I want to be able to turn off engines with my mind. Like, because we live on Santa Fe out here and it's a busy street and people love to rev their engines.
Yeah.
And the people on the balcony at the bar down the street cheer.
Ugh.
And I just want to be able to shut them off
Yeah.
because I feel like not only would it make my life better, it would also be a boom for the auto repair industry because all of those people would take their vehicles in.
Of
There would be
course.
nothing wrong, but those mechanics could still charge for that. And
Smart.
so I feel like it's good for the economy. It's good for noise pollution. It's good for me mostly.
Yeah. Jess, what about you?
Time manipulation. I got the tattoo about it and everything.
Yeah.
Look at you, you do.
Yeah.
How about
so-
you, Amy? What would yours be?
Right?
I wish that I didn't have to sleep to survive. I wish I could just sleep when I wanted to and like when I needed to, because then I'd
Just sleep for
probably,
fun.
yeah, then I would probably only sleep like every 3 days and I could get so much done. That
That'd
is
be
my like
amazing.
work answer. My other
Wow.
just fun answer would just be like, time travel, just like Jess, or like a teleportation, I guess. Like
Right.
I could be sitting with you guys having this interview right now instead of in Atlanta.
I would
Yeah,
love that.
that'd be
Yeah.
fun. Is anybody
Yeah.
working on that? Because I feel
Somebody's got to be.
Wonka vision.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
I will tell you that my employees, if someone says they want to be able to fly, I
They're
mean,
like,
They're like boring.
yeah, literally, they're like,
Yeah.
say more.
Mhm.
It's so funny.
Okay, but the
Um,
funny part is that 9 out of 10 people that Robin and I, have ever unilaterally hired, like it's just
Mhm.
up to us, we have had to fire.
mhm.
Mm.
The percentage is far less.
I bet team interviews, like
Yeah.
versus just Julie and I interviewing to team interviews, I bet we have fired 4 people in 20 years in team interviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That really
Yes.
is, yeah.
I call them our baby children. The baby children know things.
Yeah, they do. They
So
do.
how do you get them together for the interviews? Is it a before studio hours thing?
Sometimes what we generally do is once we know who we're going to interview, I reach out to my staff first and I say, okay, let's set 2 blocks of time, or something like that where we're going to do interviews, and we do them back to back. So so I, like, for instance, okay, we can do Tuesday after 6, we can do Wednesday, 4 o'clock. We pick the times. And then I message each individual person who is going to come in for an interview, and I say, I have these times available. Let me know what works for you. And once I have one scheduled, I start scheduling the rest. And we literally do them in a wave. So I don't like to take any longer than 2 days to get all the interviews done, because I promise every person who interviews that I will get back to them either way within 3 days. Because I hate all of that. For me, comes from my previous work experience.
Yeah.
I hate being in the waiting game.
Your
Like
employment trauma.
like
Mhm.
truly, like,
How we
decides
get better.
how I function.
Yeah.
And so I hate being I hate being the one who's just waiting. And I hate being ghosted. Like, I did this interview, I felt like we really clicked, and then nothing.
We try really hard not to ever make our employees feel like they don't know,
Mhm.
whether it's if something's happened and we've had to have a conversation, or what, like, we really try not to leave them in any kind of purgatory.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of that too is that we live in a small community, 50,000 people. If I ghost a potential customer in the
Right.
process, like, I want to leave people feeling good about the situation, even if they weren't the one that was picked.
Yeah.
So often I will say things to them like, hey, we so enjoy getting to know you. And we had just an incredible group of people who interviewed. That you didn't get hired this time, but that does not mean that you're off our list.
Yeah.
And if I have an opening, if something
We
comes
call 'em.
open, is it okay if I call you later? And the answer almost overwhelmingly is yes.
Mhm.
And so that it helps us with the next one if we
Mhm.
need it. So yeah,
And is this a phone call that you guys do after?
Yeah.
Always a phone
Mhm.
call? Yeah.
always a phone call.
It's leading with kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it matters
Yeah.
especially to a teenager. It matters. Like, we've forged this relationship within this interview that, that I want them to feel like, I don't ever want somebody to feel like, oh, I'm never going back in there. They didn't hire me.
Mhm.
I don't want that. So we don't do it.
Yeah.
Enjoying the show? I hope so. We're big supporters of professional growth over here at Biscuit Imports, so we're happy to see y'all soaking up the classes, podcasts, and more to stay on top of your game. Biscuit Imports is committed to supporting our customers by offering quality products, competitive prices, and plentiful resources. Check out the resources tab on biscuitimports.com to view programs, projects, and educational resources that are at your fingertips.
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
Can I ask, what is something that one of the baby children have noticed in a potential employee that maybe you missed? Like, what was a
Oh,
red flag for them?
yeah, one of them was recently, we were having the conversation, and we always ask the question, do you consider yourself a leader? Why or why not? Um, the answer yes or no doesn't really matter to us. What really matters to us is what they say afterward.
They need to know if they're a leader or not.
Yes,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
and you can turn not a leader into a really good quality around here.
Yeah.
So I want them to see if they have it. And one of the kids who we interviewed, do you consider yourself a leader? Why or not? Why not? They said yes. And actually they said absolutely. And they said it drives me crazy when people don't do things my way. And and the thing that's funny about that is that like that lives inside of me. Like I completely understand the feeling,
Of course.
but I would have said it tongue in cheek. I would have said it jokingly.
Hmm.
And it's kind of how I heard it because I can't believe anyone would say that differently. And one of my employees was like, "Oh, she is not joking." And so that was a moment of, "Oh, thank you. Like, let's hear more about what you think about that." And then also got some of their knowledge and experience from outside of the interview.
Sure.
And so that helped me tremendously.
Yeah. Wow. And
Yeah.
how long are these interviews lasting?
Usually about 30 to 45 minutes.
Oh, you really
Yeah.
get in there.
We
Mhm.
do. And it's only 10 questions.
Well, and the other thing that we didn't mention is we try to make those into a conversation. So
Sure.
if we say, "What's your superpower?" We say, "Okay, the rest of you tell this person what your superpower is." So that they have it's not right on the fly.
Right.
And it's more of we're all getting to know each other,
Hmm.
not just so that's part.
Yeah.
It's not them just talking for 45 minutes. It's
Sure.
4 of the 10 questions, everybody around the table answers
Mhm.
the question.
Yeah.
Uh,
What are 3 words
that describe you
that
best.
describe you best?
What would somebody say about you? Like those sorts of things.
Oh.
We do, one of the questions I ask is, what are your chores at home? What are your responsibilities at home? And I talk about that because I say, I can train you how to do anything, but 85% of your job here is going to be janitorial. So um, understand that that's part of the expectation is that we keep things clean and we clean up other people's messes after they had fun. And so, what do you do at home? So I know what to train you to do.
Yeah.
And they laugh, and my employees laugh, and they're like, "Yeah, absolutely," and
'Cause it's a real realization for some people that mopping is more than just getting the floor wet.
Yes.
Right.
and also it gives me a chance to dispel the moment. One of the questions we have essay questions on our application. I should have said that, because I'm ridiculous. And yes, I know, Amy, I'm ridiculous.
To
But
be fair, one of them is how to tell me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
yes.
Mhm.
But in one of the essay questions, it's about why do you want to work here? And I mean, 80% of people answer, I
love to
love to
paint.
paint pottery, and so I need to dispel that myth in the interview. And it's a great way to do that and to lead into it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
How, over this year will be 23 years or 24?
Yep.
23 years.
23.
In the 23 years, how often have these 10 questions changed?
They have it.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I do
That is
add
fun.
2 questions to the adult interview.
And what are those?
Talk to me about your previous work experience. Tell me about the people who have managed you. And then what would that manager say to me about you?
And what could that manager have done to keep you?
Yeah, that's the other one. Yeah.
That's really good. And so what else? I forgot we were also dealing with adults here. I'm just so enamored by these kids. How is the interview process different for them? Is it still a conversation? Is it still 45 minutes? Do you have any other staff sit in?
Yes and
I
yes.
also
And
want to know, what do you do when the kids are late? I mean, everybody is late, but I want to know like more so like when the kids are late, how do you handle that for their interview? Do you press on? Do you reschedule them? Sometimes it's a learning opportunity.
okay, I'm going to do Amy's question first, and then I'll answer yours, Jessica, because that's a good question. Okay, so with an adult, it is almost exactly the same. It is a group interview, and I love to see whether or not how they react to high schoolers interviewing them. I really love that because they are an important part of our team, but they also have to be able to relate to those baby children, as Julie calls them. Yes, it is still a group interview, but we do two. So we do an initial interview with them as a group, and then I do a second interview with them alone. And the second interview is really about, what did you think of that interview? And I want to give them a chance to sort of interact with me and talk about what they experienced with our team, so that I can get a real feel about whether or not they're going to play well with the rest of our staff.
Because the truth is, we've had situations where, because our adult person is generally working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday during the day. So on a normal week, they are not experiencing the studio at full blast.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy for them to say, well, the napkins didn't get filled, or this didn't happen, or the teenagers didn't do this. But what they're not understanding is the teenagers were on a wait list from the time they opened until an hour before they closed. And so having someone who can, I'm so proud of the person that we have right now, because they are very much, last night they said it at staff meeting, Tuesday is for me to come in and reset the studio after you guys were so busy on Saturday.
It's support. Yeah.
And that's so important. And I need that for the teenagers too, because I don't want them to feel like, well, this person's
it's us against them kind of
it's
thing.
us against them. And because of our age differences too, I think sometimes they have a misconception that we're going to side with the side. We don't really do sides, but side with the adult person.
Sure.
And that's just not always the case. Sometimes we will because they're right.
Well,
but that's not.
It's not because they're the adult.
Right.
To answer your question about being late to an interview, every single one of these students has been coached by the person that recommended them. And my staff takes it very, very seriously that the people they recommend are a reflection of them. So I can promise you every single one of these students has been tortured within an inch of their life before they ever get to this interview. They have been coached about what to expect. They have talked to them about what they're going to wear. I mean, it is ridiculous what they're doing in preparation of this interview. We've had exactly one person be late to an interview in the last 10 years.
And they were not a recommended person.
They were not a recommended person. My entire staff they had already marked no on their card before it started. Because they were so angry. Yes.
That's
And
so cute.
and we do leave some space in between each interview. So know that. But they were furious.
They were mad.
Yeah.
This person did not respect our time.
Yes.
You're
totally
absolutely
right. Yeah.
Correct.
And so, I mean, and that's the part of living up to the expectation that I'm talking about. I mean, they understand that this is their first chance to be professionals. And when we enforce that, that's a hard word, when we embrace it, and when we lift them up into those moments of being professionals at a teenage level, there's an amount of self-respect that comes from it that I don't fully understand, but I'm so impressed by. Like, they feel like they can do anything when they have success here, and so we want to give them that.
Wow. And if you think about it, it's their first place outside of school where they get to like learn a skill and practice it and show up in a way that is maybe a little more authentic than at school, or a little different or something. And I think it's really cool that y'all give them that space. I am curious about, specifically with your staff, and it is such a well-oiled machine, or maybe they vibe so well, is what I mean by that. What red flags do you see in interviews that are kind of an automatic, no, we're not gonna have you, move forward and come into the staff?
We had one recently that she was so nervous about even talking in the interview that she was almost in tears.
Oh, no.
And Yeah. And sweet girl. Like I really
Mhm.
enjoyed her, but man, it was scary for her. And we all knew immediately that was a no because you're going to have to do that on the fly every single day here. You know, I mean that's going to be part of your life. And so that was an
Mhm.
absolute ooh, we can't.
We
Um
had one with no facial expression.
zero.
Like answers were fine to questions, but there was
He had only used emojis before
there was
to
no
express.
nothing happening.
And so that was a no. Also I find people who are really, really trying to impress me probably aren't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Um
Mhm.
and people who are really trying to impress whatever teenager's sitting at my table probably aren't gonna make it too.
I will tell you the most awkward one we ever had. We have this kid Josh working for us, and he was just a funny dude. And we were interviewing this girl named Grace, and Grace is absolutely gorgeous. Okay. And Josh is sitting next to her like this
No.
For the whole
for the
interview.
whole interview. And
That's staring for those just listening.
we
Yes.
hired Grace, all the things, but we're like, Josh, what was that? He's like,
He's smitten.
do you think her eyelashes are real? Yes, Josh, I do. I do think that.
Oh.
And I couldn't let Josh sit in interviews with girls for a while because I was like, this is too
Like,
creepy.
Josh, you're being a creeper. Quit it.
It's
That's funny.
so funny.
But
Wow. What a
and
flattering
I
thing.
want to just quickly say, not you haven't asked me this, but none of this means that things don't go wrong here.
Oh, they do.
Sure. Sure.
Things
Well,
go wrong here.
that's perfect because it kind of leads me into discipline. Like, how do you discipline your staff when you are giving them so many of the things that they need? You know what I mean? When you're being clear with your expectations and they're
So
not meeting them, what do you do?
Robin does I will brag on my sister because Robin does a really good job of keeping open communication and also kind of identifying who the leaders are on our staff team. Um, and our current staff train our new staff. Like we aren't coming in to train new staff.
Mm.
Our veterans are doing that job. Robin does a really good job of keeping open communication with those trainers and those leaders. So if something's happening that we didn't directly notice, but that they're noticing, they don't have any trouble coming to Robin and saying, okay, this is off. I don't know, what's going on. Robin will have a conversation with with that new staff member, talk about because sometimes her first instinct is irritation, but soon after that, she moves to,
Relatable.
is this something that I haven't made
Mm.
clear? Because I
Mhm.
can't expect things that I didn't explain.
Yeah.
And so, she sits down, has conversations like, here are the specific things that I need to see going differently as we move forward. If those things persist, the conversation happens with the leaders on staff. Like, okay, you guys, how are things going? Are we still seeing these behaviors? Do you think this is something that we can continue to work on? And do you think there's potential for growth, or do you think we just need to call it? They're really hesitant to call it.
I bet. Yeah.
Because they don't want to be that person. Sometimes they're not. Every once in a while they're like,
Yes.
no, we gotta go.
It's time to go.
That person's gotta
Mm.
go.
But okay, so there are a couple of pieces to thank you, Julie. That was really nice of you. Here are things I know. The first thing I ask a person when they get hired is how do you like to be communicated when when there are problems? Because some people really would benefit from me sending them a text about it first and then having a conversation so they can kind of collect themselves and I can collect myself and we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just want a face-to-face moment. Sometimes a phone call is easier for people because they don't have to look me in the eye. And
Mhm.
I get it. Like I want to communicate the way somebody wants to be communicated to. So we talk about that first. And I really try to respect those boundaries always. If I walk in the door of the studio and something's not going right, I'm going to try to, unless I'm very frustrated about it, I'm going to try to handle it as immediately as I can because one thing we talked about, previous trauma. I had a boss that would just be upset and never tell me why they were upset. And that is not my MO. It's not who I'm going to be. And so, often we will finish whatever is happening and I'll say, "Hey, can I talk to you for just a minute?" And we'll pull back into the office, or we'll pull into the kiln room and just say, like, and I usually start those conversations with, "That felt really weird. Do you agree?" you know, and I really try to give them the opportunity to say what's going on before I address it. Because I mean, most of us are self-aware enough to know that, that was not okay,
Yeah.
and so we really try to start there. If they have no clue what I'm talking about, then I'm like, "Friend, this is what I saw, and this is why I don't like that, and here's what I need you to do from here on out," And so, but sometimes when I'm talking to the leaders and I'm on my team about training and how it's going, sometimes I ask the question, "Do you think this person would benefit from working a shift with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And often that answer is yes. And so when that happens, I just take over the next shift. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, they're on the schedule for Thursday at 5, I'll be here."
How
And
often does that happen?
once a year. you
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
awesome, I mean, at the most, usually. But so, and often that is about pace. It's about teaching that employee, like, these things, so now I need you to step up.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you to match my pace, and that's how I start the day with them. I'm like, "Okay, friend, you've learned all the things, it's time for you to match the pace, so I want you to watch what I'm doing." And we play this game that I tell them, I'm like, my instinct, I'm like Pavlov's dogs. When the bell rings over the door, I'm going to be there. I'm going to go take care of a customer. I want you to beat me there.
Yeah.
I want you to see if you can beat me there. And that really, it pushes them and drives them into a different spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and sometimes we've had to have conversations with even with really great kids, like, okay, this is a really autonomous job, and that is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And usually if Robin says, "Do you feel like this is going well for you?" They'll be, "No, no, I
Well,
really love working here, but
I have tried to do that before, and they're like, "Yes." And so then I'm like, "Crap, that's not how I thought this was going to go." So what would you do in that situation where
I've had
it's
that.
clearly not working well and they say, "Yes, it's going great."
Yeah, I've had that too, Amy. 90% of the time I get Julie's response, "No." 10% of the time I get, "Yeah, I think it's going great."
Yeah.
And I respond with, "I'm glad you feel that way, but here are some things I'm noticing."
Mm,
You know,
Mhm.
and the thing that I find most of the time, when you have someone who truly doesn't understand that they're not doing great at their job, it's because they have lost their understanding of the expectations.
yep.
Mhm.
And so, I remind them, "I want to remind you that one of our expectations is that this happens or this doesn't happen while you're on the clock. I want to remind you that we've talked about," and when I do that and I say, "I want you to succeed here. That's why I'm telling you these things. So, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Like, let's see how that goes. If we both
Mhm.
feel like you have stepped up the game, you're staying. If we both feel like that's not the thing, we're going to say our goodbyes." And I just lay it out because we might as well be honest
Yep.
about where we are.
but Robin I mean, she's written letters of recommendation for kids who she's had to fire or kids who have
Mhm.
left, because it wasn't that they weren't great. It's just
Mhm.
this particular environment
Right for them.
wasn't right for them. They
Yeah.
couldn't manage all the things.
I
Yeah.
had 2 people I fired and they hugged me.
Oh. Oh.
I mean, you
The
know,
relief.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
relief for them.
Really,
I
it
mean,
can be. Mhm.
yes, because this job is not for everybody. And that's okay. Like, and
I
that
mean, if
doesn't,
I'm being honest, I
it's
don't want
not
to
for
work a busy
everybody.
Saturday.
Me either. Me
God,
either.
all those people asking me questions and needing stuff. and being right where I want to be in front of the paint counter.
No.
God.
People ask all the time, "Oh, do you want to open a paint your own pottery in Atlanta?" And I say, "God, no. I'm not
No.
built for it anymore. I don't want to work in there
No. Robin can do it. She's great at it. I will wash brushes all day.
all day." Yeah. Yeah. I know I
Mhm.
am the worst employee at this point.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear about your staff meetings and scheduling because they go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
You want me to talk about that? Okay.
If you want to.
Okay. So, well, every month we have a staff meeting. We schedule the staff meeting for next month at the end of the current
'Cause
staff
if we
meeting.
don't, it is horrible
Yes.
to
Oh, I
try to get a
bet.
day.
Trying
Yeah.
to schedule that is the hardest thing we do. We do it on a day that we're closed. So we're closed on Sunday. So we usually do it on Sunday unless something catastrophic's going on like Easter,
Or
whatever.
prom.
Whatever. And so we do it on a Sunday. We have it at our house. We live above our studio, and there's something about taking them out of this environment and into a more personal one that I think really works. Julie cooks a meal. We usually do it at dinner time, and Julie cooks a meal for everyone. Um, it gets really hard when we have students who are gluten-free
Oh, tell me
and,
about it.
I
all the
can make
pieces.
you some gluten-free cream mushroom soup because our staff
Mhm.
loves them tater tot
I was
casserole.
gonna say it's the tot casserole that they
Yeah.
love.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we joke about, we often talk about, okay, what's Julie going to make us for staff meeting? Whatever you want, and what we've learned is that they don't want pizza because every
Yeah.
third person hands them
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah.
So
We had it last night because they decided that we would do there was one task that needed to be done in the studio that is a pain in the butt. And we have, the plate rail all the way around the studio that has like all of our classes that we've done.
Mhm.
And they had not been dusted since
COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
so they're like, maybe we could do that at our staff meeting. And if we all did it, it wouldn't take that long.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Like, who are you people?
So we did it at staff meeting, and we had pizza because it was
Yeah.
going to be a
Yeah.
crazy day.
Yeah.
But generally we do a home cooked meal because they don't get a lot of them. So we have a home cooked meal. The day it starts, everyone meets in the living room. We all sit down in the living room. The cats come and greet them. We have 3 cats, by the way. We talk. It starts with, how was your week? What happened? What's going on? What'd you do today?
What are you excited about?
What are you excited about? That's where it starts. And we check in with every single person. Like, okay,
Mm.
what's going on with you? What's happening since last time I saw you? The second question is, what do you all have on your lists? So every single member of my staff has a note in their phone, and it is staff meeting agenda. And so throughout the month, if they notice something, if they have an idea about something that could be done differently, if they have a workaround for a problem we have, if they encountered an interesting customer problem, whatever it is, they put it on their list. So we start with their list, and some months we have a lot. Like 2 months ago, they were 80% of the time we spent. They had a list, and sometimes they call each other out, not by name, but they say things like, "Hey, I came into work last Saturday and I had to rewash half the pallets."
Mm.
And it is way more powerful for Mari to tell you that than it is for me.
Yep.
And so they'll call out those things. They know the rule is we don't call out someone specifically, but we call out an action if we see an action that's a problem.
Do they ever
Um,
own up to it?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
almost always.
Yeah, and
Almost
that's
always
great.
it's like, oh, that was me.
Yeah.
And if they don't, sometimes that leads to another conversation.
But usually it just leads to changed action.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like we had a situation. Our daytime person does not like to fill the napkins on the tables. I don't know why, it's not hard. But a couple people brought it up in staff meeting, and it changed immediately.
Because it's like,
and-
oh, so my peers are noticing. I found
Yes.
that was a big part of helping
Yes.
people be better is when your peers are noticing.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's a bit like one of our girls, Brooklyn, at the last staff meetings, like, Robin, I'm finding that people don't realize that I'm the one in charge. Can you make us name tags?
Oh,
And I'm like, heck yeah. you know? And so, I mean, like those sorts, or I'm noticing that this is a problem with the way we handle blah. And my immediate reaction when they tell me there's a problem is, okay, what's the solution? And the group will discuss the solution, and then I will implement what we decide. And so that's their job. Then once everybody has had a chance to say their list, I say, I have 3 things. Here are my 3 things. And most often they're things I just need them to know about. Like, hey, we're hosting a mini convention at the end of this month, and these are things that are going to be happening, and these are things that you need to know about it. Or we're going to be we're going to be doing a special collection for Salina shares, or whatever it is. I tell them what they can expect coming up. And so that's my job. Then we eat dinner. Julie will have dinner ready to go. We go into the kitchen, everybody fills their plate, and we go sit at the kitchen table. And let me just tell you, it is a squeeze to get
I was
everybody
gonna
at the kitchen
say,
table
yeah.
now. But we sit down at the table and we just talk. And it can be about the most ridiculous things ever, or what you're watching on TV, but they lead that. Like, we just talk. And then once dinner is wrapping up, I grab the schedule. And so literally my schedule looks like this. I have a 24-month calendar that's bound, and I will have written down all the shifts that need to be worked in the next month. So I just did May yesterday. So I write down all the shifts in May that need to be worked, and they're in red pen on the calendar. No one but me can write in pen on the calendar. I am the only one who is allowed to write in pen. So I write the shifts down on the calendar in red pen, and I set it and a pencil on the table, and I say, who's going to be in charge this month? And somebody takes that calendar, and we start at the first day, and we say, okay, we need somebody 5 to 8 on Tuesday. What do you got? And we go around and they fill in the schedule. They fill in when they can work. And we started doing this because I grew so weary of, I can't work on this Saturday and this Saturday and this Saturday. I can't. And that phrase was like nails on the chalkboard to me. And what occurred to me is that I don't need to know necessarily what is holding them back from being able to work. I need to know
I
when
don't
they
want to
can.
know.
I don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, that
'Cause it's
breeds
ju-
resentment for
Because
me at
often
least.
it's something like, well, I'm getting a tattoo
Right.
on
Like,
that
I don't
day.
care.
There.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is when you can work.
Yeah.
And so they start and they're like, I can do the 22nd. And we have conversations like this. Okay, there's a 10 to 3 shift open. I can work 10 to noon. Can you work noon to 3? And
I don't care.
I don't care.
Yeah. As long as somebody's there.
If it covers, and they automatically know, like right now we have some people that are still in training. And so those 2 know they can only work with certain seasoned people. So they schedule together. They work purposely through that. Like, okay, no, Marcos can't work by himself that Saturday. Who's who's coming in to work with Marcos, whoever that is. And so, and we don't stop and have dessert until the schedule's done.
Ugh, beautiful. What
And
was
so
dessert last night? Sorry, I have to ask.
brownies. Brownies
Yum.
is their
Love a brownie.
yeah.
Classic.
Sometimes it's ice cream sundaes, sometimes it's, whatever. But yeah. And then we have dessert, and then people can go as soon as we're done if they need to go. Often they will stay for a very long time just to talk and be together. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. And we've had questions before when we've had these conversations with studio owners about, well, what about if you have people who you don't want to work together? We don't have that.
no.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If we have that, somebody needs to go.
Yep.
Right.
It's family. You guys are really doing the thing where you're treating these people like you would a family member.
Yeah.
We try really hard. One of our expectations with our kids is we don't talk to their parents ever. Their parents don't work here. So unless they are comatose or on a ventilator, they're the ones that we talk to about their jobs. We have found that we have run into parents at like the grocery store. They're like, oh, how's so and so doing? Those are usually the kids who don't last.
Yeah.
One of the other conversations that we've had with studio owners before is, well, we don't let them take off between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Well,
It's like then you
we're
don't have employees.
That's right.
we're hiring kids who
Yeah.
do not have control over the family calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do we encourage them to have those conversations with their parents? Like, what are our plans? I have to schedule tonight,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I don't want to mess this up. But like, I'm not going to tell some kid that they can't go on their family weekend that they didn't know about when they
Right.
scheduled.
Yeah.
And our kids are really good about covering each other. You know,
Mhm.
if we have somebody who finds out, and coaches are famous, like, oh, we're gonna have a practice, it's mandatory, and it's Saturday, you know, and they found out
Yeah.
on Friday. You know, the kind of the protocol with that is if your name is down on a shift, it is your shift
Yeah.
to cover.
Mhm.
And so, you know, their protocol is they have a chat without us, which is great because I don't need to know
Mhm.
anything.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
They check with everybody else and see
Mhm.
if they can get it covered. Worst case scenario, they call.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say us, but it's not us. They let Robin know.
Mhm.
And we
Robin, I
will
think you need a raise.
I do. Could you work it out, Amy?
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work
She's
it
getting
out.
like 7 new t-shirts this week. She'll be fine.
Mm.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. I take it off the table.
But if they have to call me because they can't get the shift covered, my answer, unless I absolutely cannot, my answer is absolutely, I'll take your shift, but now you owe me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
And they take that very seriously because they understand that if they owe me a favor, it's probably not going to be convenient for them.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And
They do think very hard about it.
they do. And I have more than once had somebody, I say, yes, absolutely, I'll take your shift, but you're going to owe me a favor.
And
They're like, they'll call me
Yeah,
back later
never
and they're
mind.
like, I can work it.
you know what?
That's
It's gonna be it's
amazing.
fine.
Figured it
I can
out.
be there.
I mean,
What are you asking these children to do, Robin?
I'm asking them
I
to
mean-
say they don't
Wash
want to work.
the awning, like
Yeah.
all that stuff.
No, but they don't want to disappoint me.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you
Right.
know what I mean? Like, because I respect them enough and they respect me enough.
But I might want a nap.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna need them to come in and cover the studio for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, like that's kind of the gig. And I think that like in we've done more covering shifts in the last couple years than we have in a very long time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think we have some work to do, but I think it's a generational change that we're
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
Mhm.
These children are not motivated by a
Thanks.
paycheck.
No.
No.
Mm-mm. In
They
fact,
don't care.
Yeah.
if you asked 80% of my staff what days they get paid, they have no idea.
Like, I don't know, there's a check hanging in my locker.
Like
That's
literally.
amazing. God,
Yeah.
I wish I could be like that.
Me too. I know where all of my dollars are and
Yeah.
when they are arriving.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's not the motivation for them. It's the experience and it's the what they can write on their resume. I mean, like that's who these kids are.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. I had one question and then it just flew right out the window.
Sorry about that.
No, you guys are so good at this. I want
Oh.
I could listen to you talk 1,000 hours a day.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh,
Yeah. That's the podcast coming soon. plug.
Right.
yeah. No.
I do have one really quick. So speaking of lockers, can you talk to us a little about what kind of amenities that your staff have whenever they're there on shift?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So we have an office just behind the counter in our studio. And it has a little kitchenette in it. So there's a refrigerator and freezer, full size. We have a microwave and a little toaster oven as well. So if they're here over a meal, they can come back and they can make themselves something. Often there are some things in the fridge or freezer to eat. If we have leftovers from staff meeting, they automatically go in the fridge downstairs.
We have
for
a
people-
snack drawer.
Yeah, right next to the fridge,
Mhm.
there's a drawer of snacks, and we keep it stocked at all times because there's nothing worse than being hangry at work.
Yeah.
So we solve that. And then just opposite that are their lockers. They have a space where they can just put away things and have a space of their own. Sometimes, like if you open one of the lockers right now, it is completely filled with projects they're working on in their spare time.
Sure.
You know, like off the clock hours. Also, because they're mostly women. They have tampons and Advil and
Whole thing.
everything else they need hanging out in their locker
We're actually sitting, they have a little break table. We are sitting at it
at
currently.
the break table.
Oh,
Yeah.
cute.
And so this space is really just for them. And sometimes it's the moment, like I need 2 minutes and they go to the back, they go to the office and they just need some time. And so this space is really for them. There are toys back here and markers and, just things to make life happy for a minute. So
It's cool that they can leave stuff there. Like
Mhm.
it shouldn't be revolutionary to be like, oh, I know that I have a box of tampons at work, like, or
Right.
Advil,
Right.
but it is. And there's so many places I've worked that you're like, you got to take your stuff with you when you go. And if you don't,
Right.
everyone's mad at you. So
Right.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And I
Um,
literally bought these little lockers at like a consignment auction somewhere. They're like this big. Sorry, that's
cute.
like 12 by 12,
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah.
But everybody has a space. So yeah,
That's sweet.
They
I re
decorate them.
they do.
Oh, do they?
Oh, they
Oh
do
yeah.
sometimes.
Of course they do.
Especially on the ins and they leave each other inside jokes on them. Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's
That's funny.
sweet.
Yeah.
Lately, we've had one of our staff is putting googly eyes on everything. I don't know who it is, but I love it. I'm here for it. So
Yeah, one of them it looks like a face now. So yeah.
Obsessed. I remembered my question, and it's not as fun as that. But you talk about having leaders, and you talk about some being in the leadership role. Is everybody on the same, like, are they all team members, or do you have a team lead or an assistant, whatever?
Um, Officially, well, that's yeah, okay. So, yes, they all are team members. The studio assistants is what I call them. But their their pay levels are different. I'll say that. So when we talk about going into leadership positions, that comes with a pay raise. And we sit down and we talk about it. Hey, I think you are doing an amazing job. And I feel like you are such a leader to our team. Do you feel that way? Do you want that role? And 99% of the time they're like, absolutely yes, and that comes with a pretty significant bonus, honestly. And but when they say yes to that, I say, I need you to understand that you are my eyes and ears on staff. I'm not here, many of the hours that these other folks are working. So you're going to be training, you're going to be talking to me about how that training's going. I need you to be honest with me about what's going on here, because if you aren't, I can't help. Like I can't solve problems until I know there are problems. And so we talk about those things. And the thing that's super interesting is that I usually have two of those people on my staff at all time. And I will see someone else step up into that position because those leaders have taught them. So, and like right now, I have one who came to me the other day and she's like, look, I know I'm not the leader on the staff, but I've been seeing this and I think we need to do something about it. And that was, and I thanked her and I said, you understand, right, that you have just developed yourself into the next role. And I said, and she's like, I know. And I said, and you know that MJ's getting ready to graduate and that's going to be your spot. And she's like, yep, I know. And it gives me the opportunity to start working with MJ to bring this person up into that position.
Yeah. So staff knows
Right.
who the leaders are.
Oh yeah, we talk about it.
Yeah.
and a lot of like I know now because we're still friends with the kids who work for us and now are adults that they head off quite a few, not necessarily studio problems, but like inter-staff issues on their staff chat.
Yeah.
That we didn't know about because they handled it, and awesome. Because they can do that as peers and they can say, you're being a real turd, like
And that person on our staff, Lauren, who was a high school student with us, who's now a college student with us, they respect her so
oh my
much.
gosh.
And when she says, Prince, you need to pull your head out, like they know. They're like, yep, okay, we do, we absolutely do,
Yeah.
and it's helpful. It's so helpful to have somebody who they see as a mentor on staff who will help them through those things.
That's so cool. Wow. All right, well, to close it out, if someone is inspired after this talk to kind of overhaul their staff culture and maybe, where should they start? What's the first thing they should do if they want to be like you two?
Well, I
Move
think
in together.
okay, here's the thing I think you do first. I think the thing you have to start with is, how do I feel about the people who are currently working for me? What's the culture like now? What's working, what isn't working? Because what I do doesn't work for everyone. Like, I absolutely know that. And we all have different things we want. It's like that conversation about what's a successful studio. Well, that depends. What is your measure of success? This is the same thing with staff. So what do you like about what's happening with your staff, and what don't you like about what's happening with staff? Make a list.
Yep.
Then understand intrinsically that you are the problem and you're the solution. And so what if these are the problems that are happening, what haven't you told them that you expect, or what haven't you addressed that you've been, hiding behind because you don't want to deal with it? Because that's me too,
Yeah.
and what do you need to do to move forward? Sometimes there's one person you really need to fire,
Yeah.
and it will change your whole staff when you finally take the bully out of the room, and it I think some of the best moves I've ever made were when I had to fire someone, because everyone else on my staff understands that this is serious,
Yep.
and so
And ooh, she will do it.
yeah, and so maybe it's, you have to make that one move, maybe it's, and then really think about how you can help the people who are doing what you're asking them to do to have a better experience. So is it hiring more people like them, getting some advice from them about who we might hire? I think those are the next steps.
And asking them what they want.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I mean,
their requests are never as big as I'm willing to offer. Well,
it's just
almost
more
never.
googly eyes.
Right. I'll buy googly eyes. That's fine.
Wow. Well, thank y'all so much. This was so
Heck yeah.
inspiring, and I'm feeling good about, I obviously don't have an 8-person staff, but I'm feeling good about getting there, maybe.
Yeah. And no, like, lots of people don't need that. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of people need 3.
When we started, we hired one person and we worked all the hours with her. So basically, we hired a friend
Yeah.
to just hang out with us at the studio. So, it has evolved. We've learned.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hey everyone, we hope you enjoyed the podcast. Don't forget to check out the resources area of the Biscuit Imports website. There's always new resources in the works here at BI. We hope you enjoy them.
Running a fine art studio is a full-time job, and finding time to plan your marketing can feel overwhelming. That's where the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association comes in. As a CCSA member, you'll have access to a treasure trove of marketing resources, from customizable marketing graphics to monthly social media calendars and content ideas. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Focus on your business while we help you promote your studio with tools that save you time and attract more customers. Join today and take your marketing to the next level. Visit www.ccsaonline.com for more info.
Well, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you
guys.
so much. And if somebody has a question or wants to chat, you guys know where to find me.
Beautiful.
But do we? We
Well,
do.
if you don't,
There you go.
But if they don't,
if they don't, go to our website, paintourpot.com, and click that button that says, message us or whatever. You can also find me on Facebook, Robin Cates. Send me a message. Send on the pot a message. It doesn't matter. We'll find you.
And this will come
love
out
it.
after the mini, but we know that the mini was a smashing success. And
It's going to be wild.
and congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
We think it's the 19th year of the
that's
mini.
Yeah, we're pretty
crazy.
sure.
I
Wow.
know.
We
Yeah.
have 5 UK studios coming.
I saw that.
That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
and
And
2
one from Canada.
One from Canada.
Yeah.
So so that's fun. So it'll
To
be
Kansas.
cool.
It'll be wild.
It's gonna
It'll
be
be
a
wild and
blast.
crazy times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Any big
I'm
plans
excited.
for number 20?
I don't know.
We haven't dreamt about it
I
yet.
feel
but
like we should.
yeah,
I
it's
think
coming.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Do something crazy. Yeah. Maybe we'll have it in like Maui.
Oh my
Ooh.
God. The Maui Mini. I
Yeah,
love
the Maui
it.
Yeah,
Mini.
I like
I
that.
can promise you if we have the
I can
Maui
swing that.
Mini, somebody's like, "Are we gonna get to see your studio?"
Right, exactly. Yeah. Are you bringing the studio with you?
Right. How's that going to work?
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Amy Williams and Jessica Cowan. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWord. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.